I've got to ask you, Kayleigh, why are you sitting in the window and like, you've got your hair look like?
Okay. It is so humid here, and I'm in my kids' room that is not insulated. So
Yeah,
I have a fan going right now because it's so hot that I
yeah.
have to have a fan on me.
Oh, it's great. I love it. Like the hair's just waving in the background. Perfect.
Strength, power, confidence. We are not here to be the victims of sexual abuse. We're here to disrupt the energy around sexual abuse, helping victims and survivors recreate their story to live an empowered life.
I'm Officer Borders.
And I'm Firefighter Pierce.
Join us as we raise the roof and open the doors to new possibilities. Personal redemption starts here.
Welcome to the Disruptive Response Podcast.
It's your time to shine.
Hey Grant, hey Kayleigh, how are you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
Good. So, Grant, this is my cousin Kayleigh. Kayleigh, this is Grant.
Hey, Kayleigh.
How are you?
Fantastic.
Seriously, your hair is blowing in the wind all pretty with your fan on over there, Kayleigh.
It's too hot here. You have to have a fan.
Yeah, I was in California last weekend, and the weather was so humid. And in Arizona, I'm used to like that dry heat. So I was like, I had my hair curled, and within 10 minutes of being outside, it was like dead straight from all the moisture in the air. So yeah, it sucked. But okay, anyway, so Grant, I know I told you before, I think like way back in episode 1, that as a part of my story, I was sexually abused by my stepfather from around the age of 9 or 10 until I was 17 years old. And my abuse only stopped because my stepdad molested my younger cousin. And my younger cousin was courageous enough to tell her parents right away. And they called the police and he was arrested. And that was when my abuse ended. And so that cousin in my story is my beautiful cousin Kayleigh, who's here with us right now.
Amazing.
So, right? Amazing. And Kayleigh, how old were you when that happened?
Oh gosh, it was 2001. 11 years old.
11. Yeah.
12. 12. I think 12. I was born in 88, so yeah.
We're starting to get old. Okay, so so Kayleigh, like, thank you first of all for coming on here with us and being willing to talk to Grant and I. And just so you know, like, you don't have to go into detail about what happened to you. You don't have to talk about anything that you're not comfortable with. But I wanted you to come on here so we could kind of share your story with our audience and just really, I think your story can really help some people. So let's kind of walk it back a little bit. Like that night that you told your parents and they called the police, like when that happened, what was going through your mind? Like what inspired you or made you go tell your parents right away? Like how did you have the courage to go, what he was in your house, how did you have the courage to go and tell your parents?
That was hard. I mean, my parents always talked to me about the whole, if anybody ever does this to you, you come and tell us. It doesn't matter if they say that they're going to hurt us, that they won't believe you, nobody will believe you, you just come and tell us. So I had that courage to tell my parents. The first time it ever happened was I wasn't with my parents. Second time I was in the front room and it happened and I said I needed to go to the bathroom when I saw him and went into the bathroom for 15 minutes, came out, went straight to my parents' room. But my parents were the main reason because they talked to me about it. And they made sure I knew that no matter what happened, doesn't matter what they say, you just come and tell us. And so I went straight to them and told them after everything. So that was the main thing, my parents talking to me about sexual abuse and what they could say to you to make you not want to speak up about it. They told me just ignore that and come and tell us.
Mm.
Right.
Sorry, go for a minute.
No, go ahead.
Kayleigh, the question I wanted to ask was, I guess from a parent standpoint, because I'm assuming he probably said something to you to try and keep you quiet, and if so, what was? Do you recall roughly what that was, which may allow to help parents communicate to their children how to prevent that, like your parents did for you?
That was just the conversation with it was mainly my mom. She sat us down from a young age, and it was the talk. And it could be somebody that's related to you, and it doesn't matter who it is, and they made sure that we knew to just the conversation with my mom basically went. I mean, there was many conversations, but it doesn't matter what they say. They may try to scare you and say nobody's going to believe you. I'm going to hurt your parents, or I'm going to hurt your siblings. That's what gave me the courage, and I do the same thing with my kids. All of my kids from a young age, I have talked to them. They all know what has happened to me, and I make sure that they know it doesn't have to be a stranger. It could be somebody that's in your family, like it was with us.
Yeah.
And that was the main thing. I never thought that a family member could do it to somebody until it happened to me. And then I found out Jeleena's story. So, but that was the main thing. It was just, I mean, my mom's talks, it wasn't just once. I mean, my mom had the conversation with us at least once a week, or a couple times a month, and just made sure that we knew that they could come to us. And I'm glad she did, because if she didn't, I don't know if I would have been able to go and tell my parents what had happened.
Oh, for sure. Like, it's fascinating to me as well. Look at the one parent in the conversation with you, literally that's giving you to speak up, and then that's also impacted not only you, but Jelena's as well, by something happening to Jelena. And I think that's a really powerful message for parents out there, that not all parents are going to have that message, because it's probably never happened to them. So but the more parents do communicate to young children, what they're actually doing is allowing a sexual abuse to stop happening for other children as well.
And that's how I felt. I felt at that point in time, everybody in my family had said everything always happens for a reason. And at that point, I couldn't see what that reason was until I found out what was going on with Jelena. And it happened to me because she wasn't able to say anything. And I was, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Grant, the audio was cutting out a little bit, I think, because of our internet connection. So I didn't hear every word that you said, but I got the gist of it. And so as far as what happened to me, I never imagined as a child that he was also doing it to somebody else. And so when I found out that this was happening, that he had done something to my cousin as well, I felt an immense amount of guilt, because I felt that if I would have spoken up sooner, then I could have prevented this from happening to Kayleigh or to anybody else. And so I grew up with a lot of guilt as a child, that there was times I couldn't even be around my family. I didn't want to be around Kayleigh because the guilt was overwhelming. And I know now as an adult, and at Kayleigh, as you've assured me of time and time again, I know now that, it wasn't my fault. I was a kid. I didn't know better. I didn't feel at the time that I had other options, but I still have this, this guilt that I should have spoken up sooner, and that it's because of me that that this happened to Kayleigh. But at the same time, I also feel like immense gratitude for Kayleigh, that she did have the courage to speak up when this happened to her, because if it weren't for her speaking up and him being arrested, who knows how long this would have continued, or how it would have progressed, or what he would have continued to do to me or to anybody else. And so it took one person to be brave enough to speak out against him, to prevent him from continuing this. And so, I'm forever grateful to Kayleigh. I hate that this happened to her, but I'm also just so grateful that she was brave, you know, much braver than I was. So Kayleigh, you're freaking amazing and I love you.
I love you.
Yeah, too clear on that too. Like, it's incredible what you did and the power to actually, voice to your parents what was happening. Like, it's huge. But I also just want to acknowledge you, Elena, as well, because I noticed, when you said that guilt sometimes plays on you, but as you're a child, remember, like that as a child, like we can be so naive to those sorts of things, and I don't believe, and I hope this sounds coming through because I can kind of hear on my end it's a bit crackly. But to me, what you're doing now is like remove that guilt. Like what you're doing now is stepping up for the rest of the world, like putting your story out there, to others, whether it's other parents' children, from this happening. You're going above and beyond. Like that is huge amounts of courage to do what you're doing now.
Yeah. And you know what? So I was visiting Kayleigh in California this past weekend, and my daughter and you guys probably saw it on Facebook and Instagram, but my daughter and I went to the beach, and we didn't know that there was like this peaceful demonstration going on, and it was people out there standing up for victims of child sex trafficking. And they were out there lining the streets. I mean, hundreds of people lining the streets with signs, holding up all these different things that, children are not for sale. They were saying kids' lives matter, standing up against childhood sexual abuse and sex trafficking. And it was amazing to see. And I wasn't expecting it. So, like, it was like, oh my gosh, it was overwhelming to see that many people out there, like, spreading the awareness and everything. And there were a lot of kids out there, too. And then it was also a really good teaching moment for my daughter, Michaela. She's only 11, and like, she knows my story. I talk to all of my kids. My youngest just turned 6, and I talk to all of my kids regularly, especially anytime we go anywhere, about what is appropriate, what is not appropriate, and if somebody makes them feel uncomfortable, what they can do about it, how to use their voice. But I just thought that it was really cool to see parents and kids out there spreading this awareness. And I think right now there's a lot more awareness going on, which is really good. But I also know that there's a lot of parents who don't talk to their kids about this, and whose kids don't know what's appropriate and what's not appropriate, and how they have the right to protect their body and not feel violated by anyone, regardless if it's a stranger, a coach, a teacher, a family member. And so I thought that was really cool over the weekend. But Kayleigh, I know you talk to your kids too, and I think that's amazing. And I think how to talk to children about this topic is like a whole nother episode, because I know there's a lot of parents that could benefit from how to talk to their kids, especially when they're not used to doing that. But Kayleigh, like, what kind of like got you through everything?
Everything, the family, and there was still the residual, like, different things. I went through therapy. It didn't seem to help whenever I was a child, but as an adult, it seemed to help more. But I thought I was over and done with everything. I wrote an email, which I didn't send. I actually sent it. My mom sent it from a different email to my abuser. Don't know if he ever read it. But at that point, I felt free, because as a child, I wasn't able to have sleepovers at a friend's house, because if a family member can do it, anybody can do it. So at that point, once I wrote that email, I felt free. And then during my marriage, it was, I couldn't be cuddled after I was already asleep, because that would happen. And then I would just remember everything,
Like
and
triggers.
I didn't know I was doing it, but I was doing it. I had those triggers, and that would happen. But therapy helped as an adult, but mainly the family. Everybody was so supportive throughout everything, with anything going on. I mean, my parents called everybody, they came over, and then people started speaking up. I started talking to other people in different support groups, and I realized, it's not anything I did. I didn't ask for it, because at that point, when I'm so young, it's like, what did I do to make this happen? It was, I started talking to other people. I did therapy, my family, everybody just all came together, and it just all kind of helped. I mean, I know later on down the line, I'm still going to have issues. There's still going to be triggers that will set it off. But this day, like today, I mean, I'm so much better than I was, back in 2001 when this happened. So that's really what it was. It was family and support groups, people who had been through it to make me see that it wasn't anything I did. It wasn't my fault. So that was mainly it.
Like what I love what you just spoke about was that, having that open communication with your family. And as you said, each year that you went to therapy or whatever, from a child until an adult, each time you did something, it improved your life a bit at a time each time. And I think that's really important to notice that if you have been through something, it's not an overnight thing to feel radically confident. It's an ongoing process. Like, I know for me, when I confronted a guy, I thought that would solve all of my past, but what I realized was I still needed to actually bring up with my family because none of them knew. So it wasn't until I did that that it gave me complete closure. Um, and so really, in a roundabout way, I guess that's a way to family to really bring closure and healing to move your life forward.
Yes, that's the thing. Family was the main thing to help with the closure and with the moving on. I mean, without the family that we have, I don't know where I would have been. I mean, our family is so supportive of everybody and everything that goes on in our family. We
Uh-huh.
joke and say our Grammy is the one, right? She's always into everything, but she's been one of the main people as well that has been so supportive.
Yeah.
And we're really blessed in that sense that we do have such a supportive family. Like, we're a very tight knit family. Like, growing up, my grandma and grandpa were here, and then all of us cousins were like within a block around Grammy and Gramps' house. So we all grew up together. We were always very, very close. But I feel terrible for the people who don't have that family support. And a lot
Yeah.
of people don't have that support, and especially if the abuse happens within the family member, or within the family, that makes it even tougher. And there's a lot of people out there who don't have that same support, and so I hope that they don't feel discouraged by this, and that they know that there are supportive people out there there's hotlines that they can call. There's people like us that they can reach out to, that they can talk to, because they're not alone. And Kayleigh, like, you said, when you were going to a support group and you were talking to other people who have been through similar situations, it helped you feel less alone, and then it also removed like the shame.
Yes.
Like, you did not ask for this to happen to you. You were a child. You did nothing to deserve this. It was not your fault, and there's no shame in what happened to you, and you don't have to be embarrassed or anything like that. And so I just want people to know that like, it's sometimes we just have to shine our light for others to see, and to see that you can go from something terrible, and you can work through it, and you can be persistent, and you can there's light at the end of the tunnel. And we went through, the three of us, we all went through really tough times, and we came out of it. We're doing pretty decent. It's possible.
Yeah, I love it. And common ground, right? Like, and I think this is the power of what we're creating is that in time, it's this place where people can connect with us, and just the common ground. It's amazing what that can do for people to feel like tied into a group. I mean, it's not the best way to have common ground, but hey, like, it's common ground. So
Yeah, totally. Well, Kayleigh, is there anything else like you would want to say to anyone listening that's kind of maybe feeling a little bit alone right now, or feeling scared, or not sure what to do, or just feeling a little helpless.
It's the same thing I said. They're not alone. And now with back then, there wasn't the social media. Now there is. There are Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I mean, everything. You can reach out to somebody. I mean, there's support groups everywhere for it. There's hotlines. Therapy may not work for some people. Support groups may. I mean, they're not alone. And if they don't have that family, like that family support, I mean, reach out, Facebook, something. I mean, with you guys, with your channel, reach out to somebody, or I'm sure on Facebook. I mean, you can do sexual abuse. I mean, it's easy now, and not easy because it's never easy, but I mean, there's so many outlets. So that's what I would do, is just reach out to somebody.
Yeah. Amazing.
Oh, Grant, Kayleigh, before we asked her to come on, she was only listening to us on the podcast on iHeartRadio, or iTunes or Spotify or whatever. But she didn't know that we were also on video on YouTube and Instagram and our website. So she didn't watch us before, but she is going to start watching us now.
Awesome.
So
I watched last week's episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're making progress.
Yes.
But yeah, I love that you point out that there's so many, now with the social media, there's so many different communities that you can connect with and people that you can talk to, especially if you want to talk to somebody anonymously. There's tons of great websites and groups and hotlines, and it's easy to search for those, but we also have a lot of resources listed on our website at disruptiveresponse.com. So if you are needing resources, you can go to disruptiveresponse.com and you can find them there, or connect with us. And you can also find us on Instagram and Facebook under Disruptive Response, and send us a message if you want to. And yeah, otherwise, Kayleigh, thank you for coming on and being brave and sharing a little bit of your journey with us. And I know that you were an important and unfortunate but very important part in my story, and I know that your story and our story is going to impact others. And so I'm just grateful for you. I love you.
I love you.
Thank you so much, Kayleigh. We really respect and honour to come forward and speak up. Amazing.
Well, thank you, Grant.
No worries. And if any of this feels like it connects with you, please just hold on the channel. So you can ask us questions that you might want to hear more of. Whatever it is that you want to have a little perspective on, can help in an area, then give us a question, whether it's a Facebook channel, or Instagram, or YouTube. Hit us a question, and we'll try our best to find and serve it.
Yep. Awesome. Okay. Well, until next week. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.